Hello everybody and welcome back to layout update number 4 here today on RJ's Trains. In today's layout update, we're going to be taking the mountain from looking like this all the way to looking like this. So let's dive into it today on RJ's Trains. Make sure to use code RJTRAINS at trains.com for $10 off any order $50 or more. So we're back and we left off on the last layout update with the cliffhanger, which is the mountain. And I could get into specifics on the mountain, but make sure to go check out Jason from JD Stucks, Jason's O-Gauge Trains, because I'm pretty much copying his method verbatim here. And I'll kind of walk you through the steps as I build the rest of the mountain. But it's cardboard lattice, like construction paper. You paint it with wood glue, which hardens it, and then sculpt and mold. So this was a little test area I did, but now I need to build the rest of the mountain, and it needs to be taller than this portion. So let's go cut some wood so we have a nice base and foundation to attach the cardboard lattice and cardboard paper too. So in case you guys are wondering how quickly I film these videos back to back, my layout update number 3 video just premiered. So yeah, that's how quickly I'm filming these videos. It's just one right after the other. So here's the plan for attacking the mountain, as long as Maple cooperates and she lets me film. Yeah, okay. So here's the situation, chat. I've got some 1x4s cut up and a big piece of 1x4. And my plan is to mount these to the back of the backdrop, which will add about another foot. And this way it will create like another, I can make the mountain about another foot taller than that portion of the mountain right there, which would kind of replicate the real Harper's Ferry. Yeah, so wish me luck. All right, this stinks, but it'll work. I was just too lazy to go get a new battery for the drill, so and the right drill bit. So that's probably why it looks like I was struggling, but let's cut some cardboard.
So here's where we're at with the cardboard lattice right now. Definitely not pretty. I don't like putting it on video because of how bad it looks, but, you know, just showing you how the process goes. So we'll have a little observatory here, just like the real one, and up here, I don't know, but I wanted a nice flat surface, and this will also just be one gigantic mountain. So let's keep figuring this out. All right, so the cardboard lattice is just about done, and now it's time to start trying to install some paper. Let's see how this goes.
Well, I was gonna stop here for the night. Then my friends told me it looked like garbage, and now I can't sleep. And they're right. So back to work. So it's the next morning, and we have a mountain. I actually finished this up around midnight last night, but everybody in the house was sleeping, so didn't want to record anything. There's still a few things I need to touch up, a couple places I need to be hot glued, and like right here, I want that to be a little bit more of a slope rather than straight down. So once I fix that, I'm going to cover the whole thing in wood glue, so it makes the paper almost like a hard shell. And then from there, we can kind of start doing some scenery. Now, I need to basically complete the entire mountain, including scenery, before I do the river, because I have to stand on the river to access the mountain. So, getting the mountain done as quickly as possible is certainly good motivation for, you know, getting the rest of the layout. So now that I have a rough shape of the mountain done, now I'm coating it in wood glue, and the wood glue serves two purposes. First, it hardens the paper so it toughens it up and it reinforces the paper. The second is it waterproofs the paper. So when I go to add things like Sculptamold, it doesn't really affect the paper as much. And of course, you still see a lot of the creases between the pieces of paper, but those will eventually be covered in Sculptamold and other scenery, so the lines will go away eventually. So I've got the whole mountain covered in wood glue. I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit, then I will go back and touch up with some hot glue. I don't love the way it looks right now, so we'll see how it turns out. I'm just really hoping to get some ground cover on it sooner rather than later, just to cover up the ugly. All right, well, now the mountain's looking a lot better, and I actually feel comfortable showing it off. So I have to thank Bill B. His YouTube channel's the Midland, Ozark, and Southern. I think that's the correct order, but he's certainly been a big help when it comes to doing this scenery. His videos are fantastic, and his scenery is fantastic, so make sure to go check it out. But as I said earlier, I very much disliked the look of the mountain with just the paper, and I needed to cover it and cover it quickly. So he suggested if I was going to use Sculptamold to model rock features, I should put down a layer of plaster cloth. So that's what I'm doing. I ran out, so I had to order more off of Amazon, but yeah, it's looking a lot better. And now I did order some Woodland Scenics rock molds. They look all right, but I think I'm gonna try freehanding and modeling rocks myself. So the plan is basically from about here to here, it'll be a rock face, just like the real Harper's Ferry. Over here will be trees, and then from there down will be trees, but basically from where the tunnel portal ends up, and then all the way to like basically where this tunnel portal ends, this whole area will be one giant rock face. So that'll be a fun challenge to undertake.
So, future RJ here. While editing this video, I realized I didn't talk about this at all. So in this time lapse, you're seeing me using the Sculptamold by hand to create the rock face. And this is just me using my hands, a putty knife, my X-Acto knife, and a couple of other tools to create a realistic looking rock face based off of the actual Harper's Ferry rock face. And it's not perfect because the shape of the mountain's different, and it hasn't been weathered by water and wind over the span of millions and billions of years, but it looks pretty good for what I'm trying to do here.
So I'm at a point right now where I'm still waiting on the rest of the plaster cloth and Sculptamold to arrive from Amazon. That should be arriving later this afternoon. So this morning I did the rest of the paper here. I painted it with wood glue, so that should hard. This way I can plaster cloth it later today. And I started trying out weathering some of the rocks. Now, it's my first time doing something like this, and many more layers of weathering are going to have to go onto this, but this is just a gray wash and then a light black wash on top of it, and it's looking pretty good. You know, I see some spots that I missed, but as a temporary solution, I think it looks pretty good for now. Like I said, more rounds of weathering coming in the future, but that's going to look great. So earlier today, I finished plaster clothing this side of the mountain, and I've started adding more Sculptamold to model the rocks. So the plan is I have 3 pounds of Sculptamold here, and I plan on using a lot of it, and hopefully finish up all of the rocks. Tomorrow I can do a first coat over the rocks, and this mountain will be looking a whole lot better. So I finished the rock molds last night. Well, not molds, just freehanding it. And I also placed some random rock molds around the mountain. So the plan is today is to give them all a white and black wash, so it looks similar to this. I also want to paint inside the tunnel the pink foam today, black, just so that looks a little better. And then the next thing I'd have to do is just get brown paint and cover it with dirt. This way it creates like a forest floor texture. But that requires me going to a forest, and I don't know if I want to do that today because it's pretty hot outside. Yeah, but I think once I get the rocks painted, it'll definitely look a lot better. So let's do that. So here's today's work on the layout. So the rocks got a second coat of paint, and as well as I coated the rest of the rocks that hadn't been painted over yet, and this is looking amazing.
Future RJ back again, and I realized I haven't talked about this sign up on the mountain, and it's based on a real sign on the mountain in Harper's Ferry, as you can see here. This sign was installed back in 1906 or 1908, and it was for toilet powder. Today, it is worn away because it hasn't been repainted in 120 years, and people have tried removing it because it was unsightly to the natural beauty. Now, personally, I did not want an advertisement for toilet powder, and of course, this is Maple's Ferry and not Harper's Ferry, so we've got an advertisement for Maple's all-natural dog food.
Amazing. I know the shape of this rock formation isn't that great, but I think once the trees are in place and, you know, covering more of that, it'll look more natural. I also did the random rock molds that I placed throughout the mountain. And I did this because when you go to Harper's Ferry and you look up the hillsides, you'll see a lot of these rock outcroppings. So they'll be surrounded by trees. You'll probably be hardly able to see them when all is said is done, but they're there in real life. So I wanted to try recreating that. And I realized after I was done painting everything that I missed the rock face over by the tunnel portal. So I have to get up on the layout and do that. But all right, so I got that back corner all painted up, and these rocks are looking fantastic. I really want to get some dirt down and some brown paint down on the rest of the mountain so it's no longer white. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow, but tomorrow's Monday and I have this thing called work. So yeah, but I'd really like to have it done before Saturday. But yeah, this scene is really coming together. One thing that I've forgotten to mention in a lot of my other videos is I have to thank my friend Charlie. He's also got a YouTube channel, an Instagram page, and he's got an amazing layout. So links to his channel and profile are down in the description. Go check it out. But he custom laser printed this tunnel portal for me, so I could have an actual Harper's Ferry tunnel portal to match the real thing. And I'm crazy enough that I brought this thing on a 3-mile hike just so I could get a picture with the model and the real thing, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so this scene is really coming together. Very happy about it. So today is Labor Day, and what better way to celebrate Labor Day than by working on the railroad? So let's talk about what I hope to work on last week. I went to Home Depot and I got this brown paint, and it looks really good. It matches like the Harper's Ferry undercoat dirt well. It's a very dark dirt. Like I've said earlier in this video, I need to physically go to the park to go get some dirt and leaves and blend it all up so I have ground cover. I want to do that today and cover this mountain. Also, I want to finish the plaster cloth as well as sculpt and mold this. I've been putting it off for way too long, and I need to get that over with eventually. I'd also really like to weather and install all of the retaining walls back here, or at least up to here today. This way I can start doing some scenery here up front on the layout. And right now I'm starting to weather these retaining walls, which normally sit over here on the left-hand side of the tunnel. As you can see, this is just as it comes from the store. This is just with a black powder on it, and it looks a lot better. So that's what we're working on right now. Oop, that's a different video. Right, so we've got the walls here weathered. I'm not going to install these permanently until I have all these walls, and they're really expensive, so I don't really want to worry about buying that right now. This has been taking up most of my time. That's coming in a future video, so forget about that. And you can see here, it's kind of messy. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is go out and get some dirt, because that is going to have to sit out in the sun and dry. Maple's barking, and then we'll do the plaster cloth. So I forgot it was Labor Day, which means it costs $8 to get into the park, and if I just go tomorrow, it will be free. So struck out on the dirt. The real problem is that I've really been procrastinating finishing the plaster work and the sculpt the mold, because I really don't like doing it. But I literally have nothing else to do on the layout, and I have a full day off. So let's get out the plaster cloth. All right, well, the plaster cloth is done, and I sculpt and molded here. I have to say that doing the plaster cloth is probably my least favorite thing to do now. I, learned my lessons with track wiring and weathering that I feel like I'm all right doing that again, but this plaster cloth stuff is just a real pain in the neck. We'll see how this turns out once I get paint on it, but I don't think it's going to look that great, and I might have to do more work on it. But all right, so I did a first layer of black wash over the sculpted mold, and it's looking okay. I'm not 100% happy about how it turned out. I mean, that does look pretty sweet. I'm sure it'll look better with shrubs and whatnot there at the bottom, but it'll do for now. Well, I finally got the dirt. I had the paint. I have the scenic cement. It's time to try out some scenery. So I've got the mountain covered in paint and a layer of dirt and leaves. It's not perfect. It's especially difficult to get it to stick on like the vertical surfaces, but it's wet right now. It's drying from the scenic cement. So when it'll dry, it should be a lighter color. So yeah, I mean, this is just a testing techniques here before, I do this huge mountain. So we'll see how it turns out. And so a special thanks to Bill B for sending me a few trees that he had for his layout that he wasn't planning on using. And so you can get a general idea of what the rest of the mountain is going to look like. There's still some blank spots where I definitely need to add more trees or different trees in the future, but this is looking amazing. I mean, I just took some still shots, and boy, is this looking awesome. Also, thank you, Bill, for the mug. I recently just got into drinking tea, so this is awesome. Thank you very much, Bill. It means a lot. It's actually been quite a few days since I did all of this, but what I'd really like to do is cover as much of this mountain as possible in ground cover before I post this layout update. I'm starting to think that I probably won't have enough dirt to cover the entirety of the mountain, so we'll see where we're at once we finish this bag. But this morning, I'm just going to blend up all the dirt I have, and I'll show you that process. There's really not much to it. Probably tomorrow or later this week, we'll ground cover, and then I'll post this video. So this is an old blender I had from my apartment that didn't really work good and was already extremely dirty and kind of disgusting. So that's why I chose to use this. I like to do little bits at a time, just so it can blend up better. Put that. There it goes from being like this to being nice, fine, grounded, and much more suitable for O-scale. So I filled up about 3 solo cups worth of dirt, and now I'll just do the leaves real quick. We've got the dirt mixture, we've got our dead leaf mixture, So whenever I have next free moments, we'll start getting cracking on the mountain. Today's the day. Let's finally do some more ground cover on this mountain. So I've got about a third of the mountain covered now. It took about a third of the dirt I was using, so maybe I'll have enough dirt to complete the mountain, but I don't think so because there's a lot more surface area to the left-hand side. But it's looking pretty good. I mean, the dirt's not perfect, and it's something that I've definitely learned throughout this process, is that the ground cover, no matter how much paint or scenic cement I use, it just does not like sticking to like extremely vertical surfaces. But it's stuff that will all be figured out when we place, you know, trees and whatnot on top of the mountain. So yeah, it's looking okay, I think. It's time to finish this thing. All right, so we've got about 2/3 of the mountain done, but I'm out of dirt, so I have to stop here. So it obviously is not perfect. You can see the paint in multiple spots, especially down here where it's really steep. And I still need to vacuum up a lot of the excess dirt and leaves. But, you know, eventually it'll look more like this. This will have even more trees. So you probably will hardly even be able to see the ground cover when all is said and done. But looking at this is a lot better than looking at white plaster cloth. So I'm really happy about this. And I really need to add more. This seems like a pretty good stopping place for this layout update, because I really want to get this out to you guys and really show off the mountain, because I've been teasing a lot with posts on Instagram and YouTube. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments what you like or things that I should change about the layout. Your feedback is really helpful, and I've certainly done things differently from the help of your comments. So thank you very much. So let me clean up the layout a little bit, and let's run trains around the layout to close out layout update number 4 here on RJTRAINS.